be dark as we're heading to the kids' activities instead of getting dark as we're coming home from it. So
yeah, and that god awful morning light when it comes in the window.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. And you open your eyes and you think it's later, but it's not, and you just ruined an hour of sleep that you could have enjoyed.
Yep. Welcome to, what is it, daylight savings? We're bitching about the clocks.
We're on time tonight, but next week we might not be.
Yeah. We actually have somebody from Arizona on next week.
Oh, good. We can compare the clock. I can finally find out what time it is in Arizona. I'm telling you, I can never tell what time it is because half the year they're at the same time as us, and half the year they're not, and I never know which is which.
Yeah. We have to move a daily meeting that we have when the time changes because she has to drop her kids off at school. So we have to like move it all around twice a year.
Oh, that's annoying. See, we just need to abolish it. Just stop changing the clocks.
Yep.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. We are back. This is Spilling Ink. We're the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and professionals in the publishing industry. And we've got a brand new author to introduce you to this week. What do we want to do? How do we want to get started this week? I feel like we've been off for so long. I don't know what the routine is anymore.
2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on.
We don't know if we're coming or going these days.
It's not just a time change either.
It's been a year. It really has. 2020 was definitely its own unique brand of year, but 2021 has really thrown so many curveballs at us.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, Joshua, he says, I think you're the same time in winter and an hour behind in summer. Okay. So that means that we're going into the same time. So tomorrow, Arizona should be on the same time as Nevada.
Okay.
All right. We'll see.
Okay, I'm just East Coast. Shannon and I are East Coast time.
Oh, that completely throws me too. I was back east for about a week, 2 weeks ago. And the time change was just completely screwing me up because I kept wanting to check back in with my kids at home and see how they were doing. And I would call it the wrong times because I didn't calculate the time difference correctly. I suck at numbers. That's why I do words. Okay, Joshua says he lived in Arizona. All right, thank you, Joshua, for clearing that up for us.
Important issues. Shannon S.S. Lang is her author name, and she writes FBI thrillers. So you want to tell us a little bit about your books?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. And I have the first one here. There we go. I'm really struggling with this mirror image.
There we go. How about that?
There we go. Thank you. So I have 5 out right now. They're about Charlotte Hayes. And she starts out 18, I think. And then obviously she gets a little bit older through and she ends up in the FBI. I call them gritty suspense. I've had a lot of people read them and tell me, wow, I didn't know you were so dark. So
it runs in the
pretty dark. Never phased Jane. So, but I really I got started with the first one, Long Lost. I met my half brother and half sister when I was 18 years old. I jumped on a plane, went out there. I always knew they existed, but I had never met them before. And so I jumped on a plane and went out there to meet them for the first time. And it went wonderfully. We have an amazing relationship. All our kids are cousins and good friends and all that stuff now. But I had this thought one day. I was like, what if that hadn't gone well? What if that they hadn't been great people and things hadn't worked out so good? And so that's kind of where the whole premise for everything started. And then I kind of took it from there. So
I love that. I love inspiring from real life events and just twisting them. I love that. That's brilliant. So she starts out at 18. So would the first book be considered young adult or new adult? What? Both of you are shaking your heads now.
No. I'll say, and it makes me laugh because my mom used to be an assistant principal at the middle school and high school. And when my book was first coming out, she's like, oh, should I get some copies for the library at the school? I was like, no, you should not. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it really, but there's a lot of drugs and sex and rape and all that kind of stuff in it. So it's definitely not for the youngins, I would say.
Okay. I always have to ask when I see that the protagonist is in that weird age range of are they, aren't they? Because a lot of people they look at that to categorize a book instead of looking at, maybe what's going on in the book.
Right.
And some people who have characters that are even up to 21 will sometimes categorize their books as a young adult or new adult when it's firmly an adult based on subject matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't even put it as new adult because yes, she is a new adult, but no, the subject line is as she said, it's dark. So but
all right. Well, can you give us any, without spoilers, obviously, but any tease into book one? What might pique a reader's interest and get them to snag the whole series?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I mean, it's, she goes out there not knowing who she's really meeting, or that person's fiance, because her half sister that she's meeting is engaged, and he is not who anyone thinks he is. Her sister isn't quite who she thinks she is, and so it kind of goes from there. Her sister doesn't know who her fiance really is either. So
everyone's keeping secrets from each other then.
Yeah, there's a lot of secrets going on.
And as she said, drugs, human trafficking, things like that. So.
Oh, I love it. And we're 5 books in. How long has it taken you to write the 5 different books?
It's a good question. So the first one I would say was done quickly. And I actually wrote the whole thing in first person, the whole book. I was done. And then I was like, I don't like that. So then I rewrote the whole thing in third person.
Oh.
So that was a good lesson for my first book. But I think that one probably took around 3 months at that time. The second one I knocked out in a month. I don't know what I was pregnant at the time and I had insomnia and I just didn't sleep and just wrote all the time. And so that one was pretty quick. And then the next one took a little bit longer for the third one, but I think that was still within that first 6 months, probably.
Yeah. You smacked them out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Those were quick. And then 4 and 5, that was probably another year for each of those.
Yeah.
And now it's been several years since I've gotten anything out and done. So yeah. I can go fast, not as fast as Jane, but I can go fast when I'm really into it. But
when you're in the zone.
Yes, definitely.
I'm sensing a family theme here with fast writing.
But it's hard to be in the zone when you have multiple children running around all the time. So that's definitely added complications. Because when I wrote the first 4, I think, I only have 1 kid. I think my second was born shortly before the 4th book came out.
Yeah.
And then now I have 3 kids. So yeah, they take up a lot of time.
Just a little bit.
Energy gets devoted to them. So
when my youngest was still a baby, I had her sitting next to me on her little boppy pillow while I had my spot on the couch and the coffee table with my laptop on it. And when she was resting and not nursing, I would try and write.
Yep. Yeah, with my second, I can remember when I was on maternity leave, I loved taking her and we go to Panera and I'd have her in the carrier. So she was asleep on me and I'd sit there and drink coffee and type forever while she slept. So that was perfect. But then once they're mobile, it's all over. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you can keep them in one place, you're good.
Yeah. Yep.
We did get a question here from Jenny Ludlow saying, has your sister read it and what did she think of it?
Yes, she has read it and she really enjoys it as well. I I don't want to spoil anything, but especially what ends up happening to the fiance in the end. And that's like 2 or 3 books in that happens. But yeah, she really enjoys them as well. So
I love the idea of payback, and the long drawn out payback just makes it all that more worth it. You really want to see him get it by then.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of comeuppance. You've got to get the payback, and it's got to be gruesome, and it's got to match the intensity of the evil that they have, that they've put others through.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm good at that.
Yes, you do payback very well, Jane.
Yes, I do. On paper.
Obviously, for legal purposes.
I had to look over to make sure
What's that?
I had to look over to make sure I didn't get the look. My husband, the fire tender, is over there.
Yeah, we'll keep it on the legal side. Legally, it's all on paper.
Yes.
Jenny asks also if you have any plans on continuing the series. So 5 books is a pretty decent length of series as it is.
Yeah. And I do have at least 1 or 2 more in me for Charlotte, for sure. I have currently titled Book 6 on my computer, probably about halfway written, but that's been very disjointed over the last 2 years of trying to get in there and do it. As I was telling you guys before we got started, I just moved it from my old computer onto my cloud drive so I can actually write on the most recent version. So I'm trying to get started with that again. So there's definitely at least 1 more, maybe 2 more. I don't know, 7 feels like a weird number. I don't know where to end it. So
I like 7.
I wouldn't say end it on any specific number, but definitely when you feel the series has run its course, don't belabor it, because I think when authors do that, you can tell those ending books are just not as quality as their previous ones.
Yeah. And they get so repetitive.
Yeah. It does nothing to promote the series.
Yeah. There's a particular series out there that's like 30 deep, and I've read a bunch of them, but it's the same thing over and over again. Yeah.
Now, what about like thoughts of spin-offs, taking a different character and giving them their own world or their own story?
Yeah, I've definitely had a few thoughts on that. For sure. I mean, Jane is a great inspiration on that kind of thing. So I have some ideas there. I also have a whole completely different series that's drafted and a very rough outline, because I don't really outline, but some notes taken on what I would want to have happen out there as well, that I would like to get to someday.
Yeah, the peanut gallery was asking what's next after Charlotte.
But that's good when you got people wanting to know what happens next and when the next book's coming out. It's motivating. It kind of puts a fire under you, especially if you run into that wall of writer's block or just really diminished interest in writing your own series, which happens too.
Yeah.
Time constraints have hit you.
Yeah. Well, and when Jane asked me if I wanted to do the show tonight, I was like, I want to, but I haven't written in so long. I feel like a fraud. But then I'm like, but like, this is good motivation to get back into that world and start thinking about those things again too. So I agreed, and here I am.
And it does take a lot of just, mental clarity. It takes time to find your story, and you have to have the energy to really hear the muse talking to you to write it. And if you're overloaded with other things, it's really hard to find that time and space.
Yeah. And it is such a habit too. And when you fall out of that, it's hard to squeeze that time back in. When I was really writing, I would, squeeze in 20 minutes at work when I had a slow time and, whenever I could. And then I kind of fell out of that habit as other things in life had to go into those spots. And so it's getting the discipline to make it a habit again, even if it's just a few minutes a day to get started. It's just like exercise.
I was going to say, it's just like exercise.
You just need to do it.
You got to power through even 5 words on the page.
Right.
Even if it takes you an hour to write those 5 words, at least you've gotten that. Well,
Yeah.
that assumes you have an hour, but I know you don't.
I very rarely have an hour, but maybe throughout the whole day we could make it into an hour. But
we had a guest one time who said, how did they put it? You have to treat your writing like an affair and sneak those 5 minutes in whenever you can to spend time with your work. And I thought that was really cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, it is.
The naughty element of it, I think, is what appeals to me. But it is true. You do have to make the time and make it that habit in order to get back into it again, especially, being able to write the same amount you were before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, especially the last, year and a half for me, really 2 years, because my youngest is almost 2. I've had every excuse in the book to not write. And sometimes you have to give yourself grace to get through all of that. But, now I'm like, all right, things are a little bit settled down. We're in a routine. Life's not normal, but more normal than it was a year ago, at least. So, I feel excited and I want to get back to writing. I think about it every day, but it's just a matter of sneaking that time in for sure. So the first step was getting that most recent draft I had onto the right cloud so I can get to it on the new computer. So
well, I'm glad I motivated you.
Yes, you definitely did.
Yeah, and with kids, oh my God, it's so easy to be exhausted at the end of the day and to not have time. And I know you said before the show started, you're homeschooling too, which that adds a whole other layer of mental exhaustion on top of everything else.
Yes, I'm homeschooling and I work full time as well. So,
and we have a farm.
And we live on a farm and I have 2 dogs. So there's, even if I sat down to write, I might look out the window and a goat might be running up the driveway. So it's like, there's always something happening. So those little pockets of time that I would have had when the kids were at school or daycare have all been stolen now because they're always here.
Yep. And they love to interrupt and derail your train of thought. And once it's derailed, it's really hard to get it back on track.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's very much like a muscle too. The more you practice and are able to bring it back, the faster you can snap back in and out of it and do that multitasking. So I need to get training myself again and back into that, I think. So
Now, do either of your kids, you have 2 or 3?
3.
Do they like writing or making up stories at all?
So my oldest is 9. And then I have a 6-year-old and a almost 2-year-old. So the 9-year-old, and they're both extremely creative kids. They have great imaginations. I'm always listening to them, playing with their Barbies and the stories they're making up there. The actual physical act of writing, not so much yet. But I got them these books. This is a Facebook ad that I fell for. But it was Once Upon a Pancake is what they were called. And they're like writing prompts, like silly writing prompts for kids to get started with and then build stories off of. And they both did those last year because I homeschooled then as well. And my middle, who was 5 turning 6 that year, my mom or I did the writing itself, but she came up with all the stories. And I mean, both their stories end up being hilarious and so creative. So I think that they definitely have some potential down the line to want to do some of that stuff. It's just that physical act of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them to type. I'm like, this is easier, but they're all the touch screens now. None of them know anymore. And my oldest has figured out the voice, so you can say it, the talk to text on the phones and the tablets.
So smart. You're so smart.
All the time. I'm like, no, you gotta type and figure that out and spell. And not that I can spell either, but you don't have to be able to spell to be a writer.
No, you just need a good editor.
There you go.
And I've beat you up on some of your stories.
Yep.
Oh no.
Like, no,
Oh
you
no.
can't do that.
I was gonna say, Jane, you can be brutal sometimes. You have a nickname, you know.
Yes, I know. Like, I know my son thinks it, but he never says it to me.
No, your advice and your notes are always good. I pick on you because it's funny, but your notes are always good. You're very good at the analytical side, really thinking through the scene instead of just nitpicking little things. You're like, no, this won't work because of this, or this will work because of this.
Right.
I love that.
This
I love
is
when you get notes back like
fantastic
that.
because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's also really good at picking up when you say someone's size way too often. So.
Yeah, I do it too, though. I'm like, stop making her sigh.
The old, the echoes. That's one of my things too. Oh,
I started noticing in this last book that I wrote, as I was reading through it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing. My character was sighing way too much and nodding. Sighing and
Yes,
nodding.
I think you've got me on that one too.
Yeah, I do it. I think we all do it in the first drafts or
Yep.
The earlier drafts anyway.
Yeah.
yeah, and the first draft doesn't matter because the first draft you're not sending off to be seen by anybody. It is just for you to get the story out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So make all the mistakes in that first draft. Anytime I talk to my clients about it, I'm like, the first draft doesn't count. Spew the words on the page, fix them later, but get the words on the page. That's what counts.
Get the story out
Mm-hmm.
and then clean it up.
Because you're going to have to clean it up multiple times. Nobody ever is a one and done when it comes to revisions.
Right. Write 90,000 words in first person and then change your mind.
Oh,
oh, that's painful. It's so painful.
That is. That is so painful.
Because that's not simple to fix. You can't just, find and destroy. No, you have to actually
Not
the whole thing.
It's not just changing someone's name where you find and replace everything, but
the sigh and nod, that's another one. And it is in the club for the sighs and nods too.
Sigh, nod, and shrugs.
Huff, that's mine.
Sigh, nods, and
Huffing. But that's okay. We're allowed to have crutches.
Yes.
Once you notify or once you figure out what your crutch is, you can go back and change it and be more creative with it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you more aware of it, and then you find a different one to do the next time. And
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It's ever evolving.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. First drafts are like giant dumps. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
For sure. And I think that for me, I had always wanted to write for a long time, but I always felt like I didn't know what the rules were. So how could I write? I don't know how to do that. No one ever gave me a manual. And then I realized there is no manual. You just do it and then you figure it out. Mm-hmm. So even though, I joke about my first person, the first draft, I got it all on paper. I got the story down, and then I was able to go back and really kind of refine it for myself. And it made it a billion times better by doing it that way too, because I could tell so much more of the story with third person as well. But, I hesitated for so long to start writing because I was scared that I wasn't going to follow the rules. Because when I was in school and stuff, self-publishing wasn't really a thing anybody talked about or anything like that. And, the small publishers weren't a thing. And I was like, well, I'm never going to be able to, get a real publishing company or anything like that to want to read my books. And I don't know how to do any of that. So I just didn't. And then I read 50 Shades of Grey and I was like, oh, I can write better than that. If she can do it, I can do it.
You were able to get through it?
I was, yeah.
I couldn't get past the 7th chapter. I'd get so irritated with her.
I skipped a lot of parts.
Okay.
But yeah, I like it only because it inspired me to realize, okay, if that can be out there in the world, like anything I can come up with can be out there too. So
I like that. Good way to twist the motivation. But yeah, if it helped you to finally make the step to write your book, good.
yeah.
And now you've got 5 books under your belt with more to come. So it was definitely worth it for you.
Yeah.
And you've learned probably quite a bit on your journey. And for most of us, our writing style changes as we write more books. So you're better able to refine it. You're better able to write cleaner first drafts, even if they are still info dumps.
Yeah. I've gotten pretty good at that, at the first drafts for the most part. Rebekah may disagree, but she's my beta reader.
She's also a really fast beta reader too. I can't believe how fast she turns stuff around.
Oh, I know. I know. But but I'm like, I finished this. Do you want to see it? Yes. And then I get it like 2 days later at the latest. And I'm like, holy crap. Whether it's like the $25,000 word, yeah, I wish it was that short story, or the 60,000 word novel, she gets it back like that.
I don't know how she does it. I mean, I've always been a slow reader, so I will never read as fast as some people, but she's like hyper speed when she reads.
I did a 1,000-page historical fiction for Ty Drago. I screwed up its name. Sorry, Ty. Recently this summer, and it took me a week to do it. And that was editing, not just reading, editing.
Oof.
So I'm not that far behind Rebekah, but 1,000 pages.
That would be a month for me.
Yeah.
At least.
It was really interesting though. So that's the plus. It wasn't like it was, painfully boring.
That helps too. Yeah, if you're actually enjoying it, you'll be able to digest it faster.
Oh yes.
Than if you're having to stop every few sentences and go, nope, this is wrong.
Like,
nope.
Oh, God, no. It's like I would have no hair. I'd look like him.
That's one of the things that I struggle with when I'm editing for clients is when I run into something like the author is clearly not done their research. They're misrepresenting something that's very obvious to me, even if I don't know it and it's obvious to me. And I've got to stop and I've got to point it out. And I'm meticulous about finding sources for it too, to show why it has to change and where the information needs to be found. And I end up going down the rabbit hole on the research side of it. Before I actually get back to the document to put the notes in.
The research side is fun.
I'm like a little squirrel. Oh, look, what's this? And it slows me down.
That's where all the best ideas come from, when you get distracted and go off course, I feel like. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I could pretend that ADHD is a superpower there, but really it does make my work take so much longer. Wish I could be less interested in things, damn it.
Well, in writing the FBI series, what were some of the things that you didn't know about that you learned about by doing research or whatnot with that?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. And I'll fully admit that I'm not a huge researcher myself. So my kind of tagline as a writer is writer of stuff I'd read, is what I have on my website and everything. And, I really write for myself because I enjoy it. So I do go down the rabbit holes when it's something that I'm interested in. And when I think it was when I was in high school, my friend and I were like, we want to be in the FBI. And so that was always something that kind of interested me. And, I'm a total true crime junkie and all that stuff as well. So I did end up reading a book about, how to get into the FBI, what the academy is like and all that kind of stuff. So I found all that to be pretty interesting. but I'm not going to remember her name or her website or anything, but there is an author out there that she has a website of all different resources and things that she's learned along the way. And I'm not even going to be able to remember the example of what I found on there, but it was something when there's a scene where Charlotte and another character are stuck in a desert. And it's in book 4 or 5.
I don't know which one it is, but I think it was one of the later ones.
Yeah. It's and they end up having to use a condom for something that not what they're made for. And I've gotten this off of her website. And so it's just those like little tiny things that I sometimes find that I like to throw in there that I never would have known that before. But just being able to like, there's so much information available now with the internet and everything. So you can find anything. You just got to make sure it's actually true these days. But I like that type, those little pieces of research to throw in there. Like, is this something that could really happen? Sure. Okay, cool. We'll put that in there. So yeah. But definitely,
I had a police officer that I asked for, is this realistic or not? A couple times. And he's like, no. And I have to run. Well, I can't do it now because it's almost, well, I still might have time. The bomb making scene in my latest book by a bomb specialist.
Do you have one?
Do you have a bomb specialist?
Okay. I was gonna say I have one too if you need me to pass something along.
No, my son-in-law's father. So yes. But yeah,
hilarious. The things, the research aids that we all kind of collect over the years.
Oh yes. And I learned how to shoot. I had never shot a gun when I wrote the Steve Williams series. And I'm like, man, if I'm having my guy be an expert shot, I at least better know how it works. and it was nothing like I thought.
No.
It's like, oh,
that's
man.
fun research.
How do you hit the bullseye? Especially when you have the recoil and you're just this little thing. But live and learn.
But that's fun though. That's fun to actually, physically hold something or use something for research.
I mean, luckily I had somebody at work that said, yeah, I'll take you. I'm like, okay. And I asked him, I said, do you mind? He says, no. And I'm like, okay. So we went out and I got to try a few of them. He didn't have some of the bigger guns that he had. He says, I'm not bringing those. Those will just knock you on your ass. And they probably would have.
My ex-husband had an old 38 service revolver that had a kick like nobody's business. And he used to love letting people try and shoot it just to watch their hand go up.
I've seen that happen. I don't know what it was, like a 50 cal handgun, like huge thing. And I've seen people just right into their head. Like these big guys that think they can handle it and they're so tough and it just.
Yeah. The 38 doesn't have as much kick in my mind as the 9mm because I've got a revolver too. So, but I need something smaller so I can hit the target.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've got a little one you can try, Jane. Come down for a visit.
I will. Well, come up. We have 10 acres.
Yeah, there we go.
So now what's the weirdest thing that you've researched for a story?
Oh, gosh. The weirdest. I mean, there's definitely like how long does it take to bleed out from certain injuries? I don't think that's that weird though. We've probably done that many times.
I think that's one of like the intro to authoring searches we all end up doing.
Especially when you write thrillers.
Or vampires.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else? I'm trying to think. One of the characters he was a professional boxer at one point, and I know nothing about boxing. So why I threw a boxer in when I know nothing about it? So I definitely had to do some interesting research on that. Lots of research on drugs and those effects, because I don't have the firsthand experience. I was a good kid, so I didn't know on a lot of that stuff. Oh man, I'm trying to think, like, what is the weirdest thing? What are some of your weird ones while I think?
I had to research what kind of food they made in the Middle Ages. Sorry, my voice has just gone wild. Because for my Cinderella retelling, because she had to cook.
They
And
do
I'm
have
like,
some interesting
okay,
food.
what did they make back in, the Middle Ages?
Right.
I'm thinking pastries and stuff like that. No. So that was kind of weird and kind of neat. And no, I didn't try to cook anything.
Well, that would have been fun to try and remake one of those.
No.
Maybe not.
And it's probably not what they serve at like medieval times or anything like that either.
No, it's not.
No.
Not as much.
No, sweetbreads were not sweetbreads.
No. Oh, and the gelatin things that they would make.
Yeah.
Oh, they would put anything in jelly.
And well, my sister gave me the whole blood splatter thing because she taught forensic science in high school. So she gave me all the slide decks and real injury stuff and splatter. And it was like, okay, and you show this to high school kids?
It probably keeps their interest.
They probably loved that class.
Well, and then she'd get paint or sugar water, and they actually splatter it and then have the kids come in and figure out what happened and whatnot. And,
I like that. I like that.
It went in. So yeah.
Anita says she has researched the history of beds, demonology, Victorian doorknobs. Not for the same story though.
Victorian doorknobs. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Something you don't think of, but I could see that being important.
Mm-hmm. I just had to do all the time zones to figure out where Santa starts and has to end on Christmas Eve.
I love it.
Where is the first place on earth that starts Christmas Eve? So it was like I just had to research that. So that's kind of interesting.
That is kind of cool though. Yeah. And every Christmas we do the NORAD Santa tracker for the youngest.
Okay.
And that's always fun because not only does it get the kids to go to bed on time because they don't want to miss Santa when Santa finally gets there, but they love like checking throughout the day and seeing how far Santa has gotten. I like that.
Yeah.
Anita says she is researching 18th century French wedding traditions right now. That would be fun. I think that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, I had to do a wedding in I had to look up medieval times weddings and what they said in vows.
Oh,
for the same fairy tale series. Sorry.
So the fairy tale series, you would be researching all kinds of stuff because it covers different periods.
Yep. So, yeah.
It can be part of the fun of writing. And it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole. I think the last funny one that I researched was apartments in New York that had a kitchen bathroom combo.
And how much they were.
Yep.
And the cost of living in New York City. Yep.
And once I found one, it became my mission to see how many more I could find that were legitimately being rented out like today and what price range they were.
Probably more now than before the pandemic.
Probably. Literally, it was a stove, a shower, and a fridge.
Yep.
So So that was fun.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the subway systems and how do you get from here to there? I
Yeah.
had to do a lot of subway research, a lot more than, my time in New York City every time we went encompassed. So I had to do all the paths and where
Well,
they went and where dead ends were and where things like that. For the
especially when you're
series.
writing something that is an actual city, even if it's a fiction set in a real place, you have to make sure that real place is accurate. And man, Manhattan is just the craziest place. It is unlike any other city, and you really have to know it to write it accurately.
Yes. Yeah. I knew a few of the subway lines, but I'm like, okay, what are the east-west ones? I know the north-south ones, especially the 7th Avenue Expressway, because that goes all the way from Penn Station down. So it was just like, okay.
And Google Maps is your friend.
Yeah. It's like, how do you get people traveling through the subways? We had to do that with our series.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. For some reason, we like underground tunnels.
It's like easier.
Dark and dingy and smelly tunnels. Welcome to my mind.
It's filled with tunnels.
Dark and dingy and smelly tunnels. Yeah, I wish it was the stars though, instead of that.
I swear though, the research side of it, I'll go down the rabbit hole and not do my writing goals and get stuck on it. I've got to learn a little more discipline of when to stop instead of creating new things to look up or following the trail until the bitter end.
Yes. And when you're writing a scene like building a bomb, you want to make sure it's believable,
right,
but not repeatable.
Yeah, not an instruction manual.
Yes. So it's like, okay, this is kind of tough because, yeah, I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah, because that could get you in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I have no doubt that I've probably been put on some kind of a watch list.
Oh, I know. I mean, just by the search engine stuff.
Yeah, every writer's, if you're not on a watch list as a writer, you're doing it wrong.
Although I have to say, I get some really funny ads though, because I think the algorithms cannot figure out what the hell to sell me.
I was just thinking that, like, what kind of ads are you getting with some of these things that
all
you're
kinds of stuff?
Sure.
It's funny sometimes to see them because it's like, why would they show me? Oh, I guess I could see it. Okay.
For a while, I was getting a lot of cleaning products because
bleach, right?
Bleach bomb. Katie hit something.
Oh,
okay. She'll come back. But no, it's.
Oops.
I'm like, Katie hit something.
That was weird. I didn't touch anything. It just disappeared.
Oops. Well, must have been the bleach bomb.
I said too much, so they're trying to shut me off.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what my Facebook ads do as I get back to writing and researching some more too. Because, like I said, it's been so long. I don't think that the Facebook ads were quite as on target as they are now with your search history and stuff. So we'll see what I end up with soon.
They even pick up audio when you're not even on Facebook.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, yes. I'm going to tell the story because it's really funny.
Do it.
I was at my daughter's and I did something and my bra broke. And I said it out loud. I said, my bra just broke. Not 30 minutes later, I went on Facebook and I was getting all these bra ads. Like, what? It was just like, okay.
We play a little game in our house where we'll they have 3 echoes, I think, in my oldest daughter's bedroom because she has an echo for everything, and her boyfriend gave her one. And we play a game where we walk in and just say random things to see how fast it'll pop up as an ad somewhere. And the other day she walked into my room and she said something about going to H&M because she needed a jacket. And sure enough, first thing that popped up when I opened up Facebook was an ad for H&M and all of their fall outerwear.
Yeah.
Damn you.
We had a discussion about, if we want to trade our car in for a truck. We both started getting truck ads. We got emails from Chevy, like they're on top of it. I was like, all right, can you send us a coupon with that then? And then we can talk. But
You guys don't have a truck yet?
Oh, we already have one, but
Okay.
he wants a bigger one.
Okay.
just in case we ever get anything we want to tow. We need a bigger one.
Yeah, you want the Darren truck. That's what he just said. Yeah, we got that to tow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys have the snowmobiles to tow, right?
Yeah, we got the snowmobiles.
We don't have any. We have a horse trailer, but we've never even put the horses in it yet. So we don't have anything to tow yet.
Yeah.
But just in case.
Well, we didn't have the snowmobiles until last year. And we've had the truck since 2015.
All right. You
that was phase 1. Phase 2 is actually, this is phase 1. Phase 2 is supposed to be the boat.
Ooh.
That's kind of been put on hold because we now have this.
Right.
And we got a new place in Maine, so it's still in the campground, but we got a new trailer a couple of years ago. So
yeah.
Everybody
all the toys.
Seen the back windows of the trailer during the summer. But yeah.
I'm curious to see after this discussion what ads I'll find when I get back on social media, if I'm going to start seeing truck ads and jet ski ads or snowmobile ads.
And 38 specials.
I mean, it's intrusive, but it's hilarious at the same time because it's so predictable.
Yeah. Well, and I fought for it. Like I said, I bought those Once Upon a Pancake books because it knew that I was homeschooling and that my kids needed that stuff. So sometimes I come across things that I do purchase.
Yep.
So it works.
Rare gems. Now, if only it worked that easily with our book ads, because I swear.
I did one click a book ad once, and it's become one of my favorite authors.
Oh, well, good.
Yep. Yeah, that was Pestilence by Laura Thalassa, right?
Thassler.
Yes. I can never say her last name. Sorry, Laura. But yeah, that was her first book cover. It was absolutely gorgeous. I didn't even read the blurb and I bought it. That's usually not me, but I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Let's
You're a sucker for cover.
Backtrack a little bit because you are a one-click book cover addict.
Yes, but buying the book is different, because normally I want to read the blurb or I want to open it up and read, especially since I became a writer, because I'm a picky person with stories now. and it's just like, okay, but that one, it was gorgeous, but unfortunately she had to change the cover because the cover artist screwed her and used stolen assets on the cover. Yeah. But her new covers are nice, but I don't know that I would have one-clicked on her new covers. That's the unfortunate part, but then I would have lost out on such a great series. So
catch-22 there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cover is so important. And there's also that thought process too, when they tell you about doing ads, especially Facebook ads, of you either should or should not use your cover. And there's the two schools of thought that are very adamant about their side of it. And for me personally, I prefer to know what I'm buying or what I'm clicking on. So seeing the book cover makes a big difference to me on those ads.
Yeah,
I prefer that.
I have not mastered Facebook ads.
Has anybody really mastered them?
No.
Okay.
Because every time you think you do, then they change. So
Yeah. I've gotten sort of out of the Facebook realm. I need to get back into it because now I'm wide again. Because right now I've got Amazon ads, I think, down pretty good. I'm getting some hits on them, and I'm not spending a ton, which is what you want.
Right.
I'm spending less than $20 a month.
Okay.
So I'm getting hits, but I'm lowballing the click costs.
Okay.
Because it's I don't want to spend a ton if I'm not getting all the sales.
Right.
And the ones that I'm starting to see sales on, I'll go in and I'll incrementally raise that per click cost. But Facebook, I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
I've found with Facebook, the budget that you set, they look at as carte blanche to spend.
Yeah.
Whereas with Amazon, you can set a budget, and if the keywords or your whatever targets you're using aren't working, it won't spend that money.
Right. Which is kind of what I like about it, because I want to hit people who will actually click and go forward, and not all the same ads each month have the same consistency on clicks. It seems to be.
That's the frustrating part.
It's almost like, okay, what am I in the mood for this month? It's Halloween. I want something scary. I don't want a romance. I want this. Oh, it's Christmas. It's time for, Harlequin romance things. So let's click on that. So it's very seasonally optical in that respect. So
it's so frustrating though when you're trying to figure out what works and doesn't, and one month that ad works beautifully, and then for some reason the next month it just doesn't get any clicks, or even the impressions go down to 0, and you're like, but it's the same thing. Why isn't it getting spotted by anything?
Right.
Yeah.
And I noticed my young adult stuff lately has been, or at least for a little while, was taking off quite nicely. And then I go through, peaks and valleys. So, and how do you get eyes on what you want them to get eyes on?
Yep.
I have like 400 Amazon ads.
You've got every keyword covered by this point.
Pretty much.
One of them's bound to work.
And I keep looking at things and doing all the stuff that Brian Cohen's classes teach. and
David Gogren, he's got some great ideas, and his channel is filled with videos that have a lot of great information.
I used to do some BookBub ads, but those seem to do better with sales than regular price books. At least that's what
they almost expect the discount.
Yeah. So that's why it's harder in that realm.
We'll have to revisit that later and do a show about the different ad types and see if we can't find some experts to help teach us.
Yes.
I will have my notebook ready.
I'll be writing, not asking questions.
I'll listen to that one a couple times, probably.
Right? Exactly. It's a good idea. We should definitely search out a few of those experts and see if we can't pull them on, because that would be helpful just to all of everyone in the indie communities. We're all struggling with figuring these things out.
Yeah, I started a separate readers group from my street team recently. Actually, it's been out there for a while, but I'm like, okay, I need to engage people. I need to really, get in conversations, because the ones I've been watching over the last couple of years seem to be more engaged, and they go out and ask questions, and they have fun things that they do, and it's not always like, oh, if you do this you'll win this. It's more the conversation with their fans, and that's what I'm hoping to build, because I've been kind of lax because I'm like, okay, where do I want to spend my time? Writing, promoting, it's personally, if I could just write and not have to do promotions, I would be happy.
Authors back in the day didn't know how easy they had it.
I know.
Now you have to have a platform and you have to pick the right social media outlet to be on, and you must be on it every single day and engaging every day.
Mm-hmm.
And still write books.
Oh, and still write books.
And put out in a faster manner these days. Everything is faster, quicker, more.
And don't forget to have a life, because you have to also be interesting too.
Right.
Yes.
And self-care and all those things.
My Instagram has turned into nothing but pictures of my kids' activities, because that's about all the mental space I have for Instagram right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when they do something cute, then I'm like, hey, look at this.
and Zoey is full of it.
Yep. That last picture I posted up, I couldn't help myself. I was cracking up. And then I called Allie and my oldest. I'm like, you have to look at this. And she started cracking up. She's like, oh my God, Mom, don't. I'm like, yes, I'm posting it.
Yeah. How old is Zoey now?
Zoey just turned 8.
Okay. So she's a year younger than.
Yeah.
She's a fun kid. She keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, my oldest is 9, so it's an interesting age coming from the other side of it, because my others are younger, and they're starting to really become their own people and have their own ideas, and sometimes they're like your best friend and they're super fun to be around and they're awesome, and then other times it's like, oh my God, it's like you're 14 and I just want to kick you out of the house. Like, what are you doing? She definitely thinks she's older than she is too. So
well, the oldest kind of has that.
Yes. Yeah. And she's had to, step up more than she probably would have had to if it wasn't for COVID, because we've all been home. And so, when I have work calls, I'm like, can you watch the baby for half an hour for me? So, those are things she probably wouldn't have had to take on. So I got to give her credit there for sure.
Yep. It is tough to work at home and have your kids at home. I give you guys a lot of credit. I don't. Mine are all gone. Mine are still in Connecticut.
Well, and that's why I don't even consider comparing myself to you as far as like output with writing. I'm like, Jane is at a very different stage of life right now than I am. There's no possible way I could even do a fraction of what she's doing. So,
well, I started when Vicki was 2007 was when I started. So 14 years ago, she's 26, so 12. Yes, see, it took me a little while. I'm straight on math. So she was 12 and Billy was 8. Yeah, that's 5. So I wrote at their activities.
Right.
Like you going to swimming, I would be writing and talking to the other parents as I wrote.
Yeah.
While Vicki was dancing, Billy was doing his taquito. So
and I look forward to being able to do that again when I'm not chasing a toddler everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of those little, bungee ropes.
The backpack that has the tail that's actually a leash. That was my favorite. My oldest had a little monkey backpack and the tail was a leash that clipped on. And she thought it was hilarious. And I didn't actually use it for its intended purposes, but she would hold on to her own leash sometimes too. But it was so adorable. I'm like, that is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Especially when I had my younger two and they were 22 months apart. So they were constantly all over the place and I couldn't keep up with them. It's like, all right, one of you is getting strapped down.
Right.
The baby carrier. Oh, my youngest lived in that while I was chasing after my middle child.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely used that the most with my third, because I had to hold on to the other two while they were
Yeah.
trying to escape. So, but now if I try to put the 2-year-old in that, she just like pulls my hair and hits me.
Oh,
She is not containable. She is wild.
I think that's a third child
she
thing because
climbs very
mine is
well.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. She's doing things that the other two never did, like leaving things in my oven to melt when I go to preheat it. She burned her fingers on the stove the other day. She tears books to pieces, which I'm like, does this mean you like them or don't like them?
Oh
I don't know.
no.
So hopefully that means she just really loves books.
Yeah.
Like the other two never did these things. She climbed out of her crib when she was 1.5 years old. I'm like, no, we're not ready for this.
No, I need you contained.
Yeah. She almost climbed over the fence into the goat pen when I was trimming goat hooves earlier. I turned around and she's like hanging on at the top. I'm like, oh God.
She's going to be the daredevil.
Absolutely.
And your other two are not shy.
Nope. It's good. It's a phase. They're great kids and they're a lot of fun, but I'm tired.
Yep. I feel you. All right. Well, we have hit our hour. If before we go, is there anything that you guys want to talk about? Last minute updates, anything coming up, conventions, conferences, other appearances?
I'm just hoping to write some more. So I'm speaking of social media, the place I'm most active, which I haven't been lately, is Facebook. So SS Lang on Facebook. If anybody wants to follow along there, I will make an effort to try and update things a little bit more. And hopefully we'll finish up book 6 and it'll have a title sometime in the next few months. So.
All right. And we'll make sure to put the link in the show notes below.
Great.
Generally about 5-10 minutes after the show's done, we have the show notes up and then we send it on over to the podcast as well. So
Awesome.
look in the links below for anybody who's catching this after the fact and you'll find her Facebook.
And for me, December, I have one definite, which is Dragon Dawn. And I have a second possible. I have to get on my, off my butt and finish it. But it's Silent Night. It's a Christmas urban fantasy. So it's a short story, but yes.
All right. Good things. Good things. Well, thank you for hanging out with us. It was great meeting you. And when you get that sixth book out, I can talk. Come on back and let us know. We'll get you back on so you can talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And for all of our viewers out there, thanks for being patient with our 3-week wait. We will be back next week with another author to introduce you to and some more topics to talk about. Until then, we'll see ya.